Thank you, Ms. Richards. Well, there it is. We've reached another milestone. Unless something quite unexpected turns up, we've just had the last of the oral hearings to take evidence. This last fortnight's evidence is related to potential recommendations. The hearings followed up on topics identified not only by the inquiry team as being useful to explore, but also, and importantly, on suggestions made by core participants. An inquiry should be a collaborative effort. It's a real advantage for me that our core participants have embraced the opportunity so enthusiastically. I should emphasize, however, that the fact that a particular issue has been covered in these evidence sessions doesn't mean that I will make a recommendation in relation to that issue. By the same token, I may make recommendations which don't relate to the issues we've heard about over the last 10 days. After all, the inquiry has read and heard an enormous amount of evidence since our evidence sessions began in 2019. And it was particularly on those limited areas where more evidence still might be useful to inform possible recommendations that these last 2 weeks have focused. So, what's next? You've heard what Ms. Richards had to say. The things I would highlight particularly are these, that we have an important deadline in December the 16th. That is the date by which I have asked the small number of unrepresented core participants and the recognized legal representatives of large numbers of core participants to make their written submissions about the factual findings and the recommendations they propose that I should make. Now, those submissions will, of course, as you've heard, be published on the inquiry website. You'll be able to see them in good time before oral submissions begin. And they begin, again, as you've heard, in January, starting on Tuesday the 17th, when we next meet here, when we begin 3 weeks of hearings. And those timetabled will have the opportunity to present closing statements to me, and the timetable, as you've heard, will be published shortly. As we move towards the end of the inquiry, we're also having to introduce another date by which things must be done. I ask anyone who's new to the inquiry or who has recently decided that they'd like to contribute from their own experience to take particular note of this. We're asking anyone infected or affected who would like to make a witness statement but has not yet done so, or who would like to speak to an intermediary, to contact the inquiry or their chosen legal representative before the end of this year. Otherwise, we shan't be able to complete all of the work needed to publish those statements by the time the inquiry is likely to publish its final report. Well, so much for matters of timetabling. Let me end our last hearing for this year with a more personal message. The support so many of you have given to the inquiry in so many ways, so publicly by being here physically, but also by being here in spirit by watching, if you couldn't be here, or couldn't bear to be here, or by simply keeping in touch. All those have been impressive. And this is despite the fact that the inquiry takes time. And time brings its own challenges and its losses. Each individual one matters deeply. It's a tribute to the sense of community, resilience, and patience that you have continued individually and collectively to support one another and to give this inquiry the support it needs to complete its task. Thank you. The inquiry's Red Cross line will remain open as usual over Christmas and New Year. It's there for you all, so please don't hesitate to use it. It can be a difficult time of year for many. And finally, I wish you all here and those who are watching online a peaceful and restorative break. Thank you again.